So now we will talk about the upcoming week, and before we will consider looking at the charts, we first of all want to take a look at the economic calendar to kind of be aware of the news events of the upcoming week and to kind of plan on which days we want to interact with the markets, right? We always want to determine the trading conditions first before we look for potential setups in the charts, right? So if we take a look at the economic calendar, we can see that this week we have NFP on Friday, so we have NFP week, and the protocol for NFP week is that we try to be done with our trading within the first 3 days of the week. So we can also trade Mondays during NFP weeks, but we don't really want to trade on Friday ahead of NFP, and also the first day ahead of the NFP release day can also be a low probability day, and we tend to sometimes see already a consolidation profile on Thursday. We know that we will want to put our focus on Monday to Wednesday for this week, and then we can see that we have high impact news in New York session on Tuesday. So those times are CET, but it's 10 a.m. New York time. We have consumer confidence news release, and then on Wednesday we have job openings at the same time as well as Geo news, or more like all day, but we don't really care about that. We only care about news events at fixed times, right? So now back to the charts. We have determined already our higher time frame POIs, right? We have the daily bearish order block right here. We have the inverse volume imbalance, the weekly volume imbalance resting right below, and we also have the volume imbalance right here inside this bullish order block, where we then want to see a reversal to happen, right? So then we go down to the H1 to kind of get a better idea, or to refine our POIs, right? To then take trades during the kill zones, right? So step 1 of the protocol was determining the trading conditions. We have done that by looking at the economic calendar, and we said that we will try to look for trades from Monday to Wednesday, and maybe even on Thursday if the price action is showing the willingness to displace. But if we see a consolidation, so for example we want to trade New York and we see already London being consolidation profile, we then can anticipate that okay, we might want to skip our trading for this day as well and wait for NFP to be released and then reassess our trading, right? So we now have the H1 here, and what we can see, we have Friday's lows right here, so the previous week's lows, and we also have, as you can see here, we had on the H1 the stop hunt above those highs, and we then broke structure to the downside. We've taken liquidity, displaced to the downside, and then we broken below this low, and we therefore have here an H1 order block here, right? We have those two up close candles. We take the bodies, and those are our higher time frame H1 POI, which is resting right inside our higher time frame daily POI, right? The volume imbalance and the daily order block. And we can also see now that we have retraced on Friday into that order block here, right? And we've taken again the sell stops, the buy stops resting above this high, and then we have displaced lower again, and we have left behind another order block right here. So because this is now a propulsion block, why? Because we have an order block right here, we get a retracement into that order block, taking out the buy side here, and we make another lower low, breaking the structure. So this order block, which is basically stacked below this one, is now a propulsion block, right? And For propulsion blocks, we don't want to see price closing above the 0.5 level. We want to see price rejecting from the 0.5 level, the lower half of this POI here, right? So now let's go down to the M15, and we will now wait for the London session to start. For today is still bearish, right? We are still in a bearish order flow, so we're still trying to look for lower prices, and we want to aim for price to trade lower into that daily order block we've marked out, right? Let's actually hide it for now. So we have our higher time for POI here. So the first step of the protocol is done, right? We have determined the trading conditions which are allowing us to trade this Monday. Step 2, which is the bias, right? We have still a bearish bias until we get a daily shift in order flow, right? So we want to look for shorts rather than looking for longs. And now we want to look for a potential narrative as well, right? So we wait until the London session on Monday is starting, right? We have the Asian session right now. And now we want to wait for London session to start, right? So with a bearish bias, so therefore we want to look for shorts above the New York opening price, right? Which is right here. So we mark out that level. This is the New York midnight opening price, right? Let's make that in purple. So if we anticipate London to make the high of the day above the Asian highs into our higher time frame PD area here, we also have a short-term high on the M15 here, so we could also see a potential run of stops right here. So a run of stops of counterpart liquidity, and then we want to see London making a high here, and then we want to look for a shift in order flow to confirm on the lower time frames our idea, right? So we wait for London open. There we go, and we have taken out now the buy side right here, and now we want to see if we can get a shift in order flow right here to confirm the short idea, right? And now a potential narrative for this trade, we could use a market maker model, a lower time frame market maker model inside this daily bearish order flow, right? We have taken buy side right here, we have taken buy side of this short-term high here again, and now we have a potential M15 market maker model here, right? So we want to see now the smart money reversal to happen here above this high, right at this 0.5 level of this bearish order block on the H1. So this is our higher time frame POI, right? And the narrative is the market maker model, right? We have the original consolidation right here, and we are aiming, if we get a confirmation, we would short and aim for those equal lows here, right? And you can see those lows also have the context of time being the Asian lows, so we have a high probability draw liquidity. So at this point we now have London open, we've traded above the short-term high, and now we want to see a shift in order flow, right? So we have this dealing range here, right? We have the swing low to the swing high, and now we want to see if price is starting to disrespect the bullish PD arrays and turn them into inversion levels and creating bearish PD arrays on the sell side here to then frame a short entry, right? So we have this order block right here, those two down closed candles, and as you can see, we here have now also created an fair value gap on the sell side as well. So we have this placement here after taking sell stops. We are still trading above the New York open. So we've closed below the bullish order block, which should now turn this into a breaker block, and we also have the fair value gap here. So now we can put a short trade here. We can put a limit at the bottom of this fair value gap, and we put our stops at the London highs, right? which are strong highs. They have taken liquidity, so therefore there's no need for price to trade above those highs again if we are bearish. So entry here, and we then put our take profit below the Asian lows and the equal lows of this original consolidation, right? So now we want to see if we can get a fill here. If we get a close back above this value gap again, I will then cut my trade for a small loss. But as long as we don't close above the middle of this value gap, we are still bearish, and I will look for price to sell off here. So there you would have gotten tagged in, and now we want to see if we can get to the Asian lows here, right? And there we go. We would have gotten a 2.86 R trade here, and we have traded right into the consolidation lows right here. So this is the first trade according to the protocol. So to sum it up again, we have a daily bearish bias, right? We have the step 2, actually step 2 the bias, but step 1 the trading conditions, right? We have determined them. We have then the bias, then we have the narrative, which is the market maker model on the lower time frames within a daily bearish order flow, and our higher time frame POI was this H1 order block combined with this M15 counterparty buy side liquidity pool right here. And then we have the shift in order flow above the daily open, so everything is jacked off the list and we can short here, and then we get straight into our TP, right? And potentially we could also leave some runners here for those lows, but because this is a strong low, right, because we have taken first day's low, this is not going to be an easy draw on liquidity. We might see some consolidation here because we also have a balanced price range right here, right? So a balanced price range is we have a fair value gap here on the sell side, a bearish fair value gap, and it's getting overlapped with a bullish fair value gap. So all of this range is a balanced price range, right? And we will probably see some sort of consolidation or some sort of retracement here to happen, right? So we tagged now the balanced price range, right? We got a small reaction of that, and now we have the New York Open, right? But for now, we don't really have a clear bias, right? We are already also trading in a deep discount of this range, and we are close to sell side, so there's not really a reason to frame a trade idea here, right? And we also already got a win today, so we won't be looking for any trades today anymore, right? So as I mentioned, we had a consolidation here because this is not a low resistance liquidity run, right? It's a strong low as it has taken liquidity from this low, so therefore it will take some time for price to trade below this low here. And then we have the daily close here as well, and you can see how we have now kind of equal lows here, so they will act as a drawn liquidity going forward. Again, we let the Asian session play out, right? And as you can see, we had quite some volatility during Asia, so we did not have any clear consolidation or something like that. We got a retracement back into this range here, right? If we take the flip from this high to this low, again high to low, you can see we trade into the discount premium of this range, and then we got a sell-off during Asia. So now we want to see if price, we actually have already taken out the Friday's lows here. So now we want to see if price is able to push down into this daily volume imbalance we've marked out. So price is now approaching our higher time frame PD array to look for a potential daily reversal, right? So we have London opened right here, and we have traded into that volume imbalance, right? So we are now at a bullish POI, right? And we're also now trading below Monday's low and below Friday's low, which is also the previous week's low, right? So we are no longer bearish for this day. We have now a short-term bullish bias, right? Because we have Asia highs here, we have Monday's highs here, and for Tuesday we always want to keep in mind the Monday range. And in this case, because we have a higher time frame bullish PD array here, we now want to see some bullishness here and potentially look for longs, aiming for the Asia highs and potentially the Monday's high, and then we also have Friday's high right here. So you can see how we quite have some buy side highs here, right? Also, like, could say a trend line liquidity here, right? We have those three highs, so we will now look for longs in London session, right? So right now I will wait. We still have those pre-London session lows here, so ideally we take them out again, and then we will want to see a shift in order flow here to then get into some longs. And there we go. As you can see, we trade right into that 0.5 level of the volume imbalance, and I told you ideally we get a reaction at that level. And there you can see we close perfectly at that 0.5 level, even on the M15, right? We're respecting this level perfectly. So now we have a short-term run of stops here of this pre-London lows, and now we have those down closed candles right here, which are now a bearish order block. And I told you, if we are bearish, we don't want to see price closing above the middle or even above the top, right? So if we want to confirm a shift in order flow here, we then want to see now price getting above this level here and potentially leaving behind here and fair value gap, right? So to kind of have this placement here. So we go now to the M5 as well to get kind of like a more detailed view on price, and you can see how we had this propulsion block here, right? This is the order block, this is another order block. So again, we have the same example as I showed you on the H1 from Monday. We have an order block here and another one here. So this is a propulsion block. We've closed above, so this is the first indication of a change in order flow here on the M5. So at this point we can now try to put a limit order right here on top of that propulsion block, which is now a mitigation block, right? Because we closed above. So now price should offer support here at this level, and we put our stops below the low. I put my stops here. There's no need for price to go back down here, so you could put your stops here as well, but there's no reason for price to go all the way down here, so I will put my stops right here as well. And we also have, as you can see, this bearish value gap here. We closed above, so we have violated here two PD arrays. First of all, the fair value gap, and then the propulsion block as well. So we have here a shift in order flow, and now we want to see if we can get a fill here, and we aim for our TP for those highs here, right? The Asian highs, and we have a 3.4 R trade. So now we want to see if we can get a fill here, right, of this mitigation block. And you can see we have now created a fair value gap here as well. So now I will put my limit, I will move my limit up to this fair value gap here, because sometimes we don't really retrace back into the mitigation block, and we only get a small retracement, or sometimes this gap will be left open. You can also market enter here if you want, but yeah, there we go. We trade into that fair value gap here, and now you can see we still have a 2.97 arch rate up to the Asian highs, which would be our first TP. And now we want to see price trading to the upside, right? So there we go. If we go on the M15, you can also see how we have a fair value gap here once we close above. So we use again the inversion levels. We have a close above here, so now this inversion level, and you can see we get a retracement, and we retrace right at this middle of this inversion level, and then we get the impulsive move to the upside, and we're now heading for the Asian highs, right? And there we go. We could either TP our position completely here, or we will take some partials and then leave a runner for potential the Monday highs, right? We have the Monday highs here, which are also the previous day, so Monday's London session highs. So we again have a context of time to this high here, right? And if we take some partials, we would get another few pips aiming for Monday's high, right? So there we have the start of the New York session, right? If you remember, we also have news at 4 p.m. Or 10 a.m. New York time and 4 p.m. Europe time. So we have news at the end of New York session. So ideally, we don't want to trade ahead of that, because if we have news, we likely see a consolidation profile ahead, and we also have had an expansion during London and London lunch. So we probably will trade above this high and then see some consolidation before the news will be released, right? And there we go. We hit now our final TP, where we would close the remaining position, right? And now we wait for news. And you can see we have been kind of consolidating here without any displacement, and now we are out of session as well, so our trading day should be done here, right? So for this week we already have 2 trades. We had the shorts on Monday and then the longs here. So again, to recap this trade, we had on this day the trading conditions have been determined, right? We said we will trade from Monday to Wednesday, so trading on Wednesday is fine. We had, again, our bias was being more inclined for a bullish price action. We had our narrative was the Monday range. We had the buy side here of the Asian highs and the Monday highs, and we also had a higher time frame level, which was this volume imbalance, and then we had the shift in order flow and the M5, and then as well on the M15. So you could have entered here twice, right? You could have entered on the M5 shift in order flow, and then again as well also on the M15 shift in order flow, right? And then we had our first TP, the Asian highs, right? And then the second TP, the Monday highs. So now we will go and wait for the daily close on Wednesday, right? Oh, actually. So we had the daily close right here, and as you can see, we have a swing failure right here. We have taken this previous week's low and then closed back in the range again. So we are now probably might see some consolidation here, or even some retracement to take out. As you can see, we have quite some previous day's highs here, right? We have this previous day high, we have this daily high, and as well as those daily highs here, right? Which have been getting swept, but we have still lots of buy side liquidity resting here, right? So for Wednesday, we don't really have a daily bias. We've got a reaction from the higher time frame level, but we've also taken out Monday's high. So we either want to wait for price to trade lower again and then look for potential longs again here, or we want to see price now trading into this daily order block or this volume imbalance here, right? So we have the Asian session here, and now we already know, okay, London session will be a low probability session. Why? Because Asia has been expanding for 40 pips and we had an expansion profile, so we will most likely see a consolidation profile or a retracement profile during London session, right? And there we go, we have London session, and you can see how price is just slowly trading down, and then we take out the previous day's low, and if you remember, we also had the daily order block here, right? So we have the middle of the bullish daily order block right here. We now want to see if we can get a reaction of this level here, right? So let's mark that level out. This is the level here, and let's hide this gray box again. So let's see what price is reacting at this level here, right? So we're almost close to this level, but still there's nothing interesting here, and we are also now out of kill zone, and we have here the New York Open, right? And also remember, we have news again, as you can see here, job openings at 10 AM New York time, right? So at this point we don't really have a bias, right? We are still bearish overall, but again, we also don't really have a clear drawn liquidity at this point, right? We have taken out all the swing lows on the daily. We are now trading at our higher time frame discount PD arrays, so we don't really want to be really aggressive with shorts here. We want to see if we can get a consolidation here, and then maybe a displacement or a shift in order flow on the H1 or even on the daily to then look for longs, right? So we have news here, and you can see news dropping prices lower, right? We have the London lows here. We also don't really can apply here a session profile, right? Because the continuation doesn't really apply here, as we are already in a deep discount. So although we had Asia taking out external liquidity and displacement, but we have been overextending, so London was a low probability session. And in New York we also don't really want to play a continuation here because we have taken out the previous day's low, and now we have news here. So we just kind of want to let price action show us its intentions, right? And then go from there. So we don't really want to force any setups here at this point. There you see we take out the London lows as well. And to now confirm a shift in order flow, kinda, we would need to see price breaking or closing above this fair value gap here, right? So a close above here would be important for supporting the bullish idea, right? So you can see we're also trading out of kill zone now, and we're still bearish, and we're just trading lower here. And at this point we would not be looking for trades anymore and just wait for the daily close and then go from there for the next day, right? So we have the daily close right here, and as we can see we've closed back again above this daily volume imbalance. So we have respected the daily volume imbalance, right? We always only want to look at the candle closes. So remember, the candle bodies tell the story and the wicks do the damage, right? The wicks are therefore taking liquidity above old highs and piercing below old lows to take the sell stops or the buy stops resting above old highs, right? And as you can see, we got a close here above, so we are respecting the daily bullish order block middle, right, and also the volume imbalance. So it shows us that those PD arrays are getting respected for now, right? So now we have Thursday. So you know, on Thursday ahead of NFP, we want to keep our expectations low, right? It can be a consolidation profile, so we want to be really careful on this day. We go again on the M15 and wait for the London session, right? So we see Asia has been consolidating, so we can expect some sort of expansion during London, right? And as you can also see, we are trading around that volume imbalance, and we also have the middle of the order block right here, which we've marked out with this line. And as you can see, we also have a mitigation block here, right? We had this propulsion block here. Again, we had the order block right here, right? And we have then trade in the order block, sold off, create another order block here, which is now a propulsion block, and we've closed above, so we have now a mitigation block right here, and we want to see now this acting as support here, right? And then in case we can't hold this level here, we also have another propulsion block or a mitigation block here as well, right? So we have two mitigation blocks here, and we also have this fair value gap here, so we might also trade into this fair value gap here as well. And now we kind of want to see if we can get a reaction of one of those levels here. And remember, we are also trading below the New York midnight opening price here, which again we mark out with this purple line. So we want to see if we can see some accumulation below the New York midnight price and then see an expansion to the upside, right? So we have here London Open, we trace lower, we are now trading at this second mitigation block, and if we get a close below this one, then we will probably trade for those lows again. But as long as we are holding this level here, I think we are still bullish here. So now to confirm a lower time frame shift in order flow again, we want to see a shift here in the order flow, right? We have this order block here, right? We have those two up close candles. We've got a close above, so we have as well a shift in market structure here, and we also have now a breaker block here, right? We also have an old fair value gap here, right? We have this M15 fair value gap here, and we now want to see price closing above this one as well. So there we go. You can see how we use the breaker, the upper half here, as support, and then we trade up higher, right? But again, we are now out of kill zone, so we now want to wait for New York and to play a potential continuation, as we are now expecting that this is going to be the low of the day, right? And we have lots of buy side here. We have the previous day New York highs, we have the Asian highs here, and we also have today's Asia highs. And yeah, that's lots of buy side resting here, and we are bullish because we are trading at our higher time frame level, and we are respecting this level for now, right? So we wait for New York, right? New York Open, and now we want to play the New York continuation, and in this case we want to see, right? We want to see New York opening up the open, we want to make the low, then we want to make we want to see a distribution to the upside, creating the high and then the close of the session, right? So now we want to see if price can retrace back into an PD array right here. So we go on the H1. If we can see an PD array here on the H1, we have this up close candle which we've closed above. So we could use this as a potential H1 PD array, right? And if we go back to the M15, and on the M15 we also obviously still have this M15 inverted fair value gap here, right? So we have multiple PD arrays of confluence here which are aligning. And now you can also use the flip tool, right, to determine premium and discount. So we also have the discount right here aligning with those PD arrays, right? And there you go, you see how we trade right into this former fair value gap here, which is now an inverse fair value gap. And now we will go to the M5 to look for a shift in order flow again, right? And to confirm a shift in order flow, we now want to see price closing, for example, above this fair value gap right here. And even you could use this as a more of a confirmation to wait for price to close above this high here, above this order block here, right? So we will now want to see if we can get displacement out of this range here, right? And there we go. We've closed above the fair value gap, and now you want to see the fair value gap being used as support and not to close below again, right? At this point, I personally would not long yet. I would wait for another confirmation here, and I want to see another close at least inside this order block here, right? And there we go, we have now closed inside here and as well above this high. So I now will look for longs here, right? And I'm not expecting a big retracement here. We might trade into this fair value gap here and this lower time frame order block, but we don't really have to. We can also leave this open. So I will already market enter here, right? So I will enter here and then I will put my stops below this low here, as price should, as mentioned, not close again below this fair value gap. We might see a wick here below this short-term low, but as long as we don't close below this low or inside or below this fair value gap, we are still bullish, right? And for potential take profit area now, we have the Asian highs here, right? And we also have the New York highs here. And you could see we would get a 2.3 R trade aiming for the New York highs, right? And you could also even potentially aim for Friday's New York highs, which align with this volume imbalance from the weekly chart, right? So we have no free potential TP areas here. I will probably wait for at least this high and then take the majority of my longs off at this New York high here, right? So putting my TP here, and now you can see we got a retracement here back into this order block and this inverse fair value gap, but you can see we respecting it. So you could have gotten a fill here as well, you could have placed limits here as well, but you don't always get filled here. Sometimes the price will simply go up without you. But yeah, it comes down to personal preferences where you want to enter, right? And there we go. We also have PMI at 10 a.m. So we want to see PMI pushing now price higher, right? And there we go. We have now traded into those highs here as well. So this would be the last trade of the week. We had 3 trades this week. We had 2.8 R here. We had around 4 R here and another 2.3 R here. So we would have had 3 high probability trades. And again, a quick recap of this trade. We had the bullish shift in order flow here, right? We closed above, and we have combined this level with our higher time frame level, the volume imbalance and the order block, and the daily order block. And then we had the Asian range. We play again the London session manipulation, right? We open, we make the low of the day, and then we play the New York continuation. And in this case, we have also a market maker buy model, right? We have the sell side of the curve, and here we have now the buy side of the curve, right? And we had the smart money reversal here, and we had a reaccumulation, and then here the second stage, the distribution into those highs here, right? And yeah, on Friday we have NFP, so we will just let's play NFP out and see what NFP is going to do, right? So as you can see, we are now trading in the weekly volume imbalance, and also inside this former H1 order block, which is also the daily order block, right? So we have again PT area alignment here. We have taken out the previous day's high. So yeah, this is now kind of like a really important level. If NFP is able to push price above and we get a close above here, we then have a bullish shift in order flow, right, on the daily. If we respecting this level, then NFP will send it down here. So at this point we don't have a clear bias, so we will just let NFP play out and see what daily close we get, right? And as you can see, NFP has sent price down. If we go onto lower time frames, you can also see that we have again London making the high of the day, but you can see the price action is not really clean. It's a lot back and forth inside this volume imbalance, right? You can see how we trade right in that volume imbalance, and then once NFP gets released, we go down, get up again, and then we go down. Nothing I would consider any high probability setup here. And yeah, this was this week's trades, and we will continue with the next upcoming week in the following up video.